Wednesday's news of a transgender ban in women's sports hits close to home for one local track and field coach here in Oregon, who says he was essentially let go from his job for speaking out on the issue last summer.
17, 18, 18-2, good job.
The politically correct thing to do is to protect all the athletes, not just a small sliver that feel like that they should have a right to compete against girls.
Former Lake Oswego track and field coach John Park says by taking a stand for his female athletes by writing a letter to the OSAA before last year's state track meet, he's been unfairly singled out.
In doing so, I've paid a price because I applied for some jobs and didn't even get an interview. People made me too hot to touch and think that somehow I'm an evil, bad person for standing up for girls' sports.
Parks, who still coaches about 36 athletes through his nonprofit Ultimate Speed Athletics USA, says he's always been an advocate of trans rights. But when it comes to competition, he believes the executive order highlights important disparities.
That's all I was calling for, and that I want transgender athletes and individuals to have the opportunity to compete, be part of the high school athletics. I think it's valuable for them, but it's also not fair to the natural-born females that they have to compete in that situation because there's just an inherent advantage that has been defined.
However, many against the executive order say the sweeping change would be devastating for trans girls looking for a place to belong, especially in sports. We spoke with Blair Stenvik with Basic Rights Oregon, who shared her concerns about the order.
Imagine her suddenly being removed, not able to play that sport with her friends. And her options are to not play or to play in a boys' team when she lives and is seen as a girl by her classmates. That is a really unfortunate and isolating experience.
The veteran coach, whose legal case with the district is still ongoing, says he hopes in some ways keeping men out of women's sports will bring the impact he hoped to initially make last year.
I think in the end it will be all for the good, and I will just have played a small role in that happening.
Meanwhile, the OSAA says it will need some time before coming to any conclusions about how the order will affect Oregon athletes. In West Lynn, Dylan Scott, Fox 12 Oregon.
I think this guy is right. I think this coach from Oregon is telling the truth. I think he is telling the right thing, that we should not try to accommodate majority. We live in a democracy and we should do the will of the majority. We should account for all athletes, for all people, and that includes girls that want to compete in girls' sports and win competition.
I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. The ripple effects of Donald Trump's ban on transgender athletes already making waves. Just one day after President Trump signed an executive order banning biological males from playing in women's sports,
you've been waiting a long time for this.
The NCAA barred transgender women from competing in women's college athletics.
The president's executive order has put tremendous public pressure on private organizations.
NCAA President Charlie Baker releasing a statement writing, President Trump's order provides a clear national standard. The move upsetting many in the trans community, like Schuler Baylor, the first openly transgender NCAA Division I swimmer.
This decision is cowardly, despicable, and crushes so many young athletes' dreams.
The U.S. Department of Education now investigating Title IX violations in athletics at San Jose State University, the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, and the University of Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, 3 former UPenn swimmers on the team with transgender athlete Leah Thomas now suing the NCAA, UPenn, and the Ivy League to have Thomas's collegiate records wiped off the books. Thomas set several Ivy League women's swim records and won a D1 national championship in 2022.
I do think that there is going to be change and people are going to feel more comfortable speaking out and doing what is right and just making sure that the little girls who are coming up behind us are not left behind.
Critics argue data does not show transgender athletes have any advantage and that this pushback is unfair to the trans community.
This is complete insanity. We can all see that men are stronger and faster than women in general, and that making them compete against girls in women's sport is totally BS. It's the fastest way to make sure that women don't win anything in the future, and it's sad that some people support this.
No evidence that trans athletes have an advantage over anyone else in sports. Trans athletes play sports for the same reasons as anybody else. For our love of the game, to be a part of a team, to challenge ourselves.
A New York Times Ipsos poll from January found 79% of Americans do not believe transgender athletes should be allowed to compete in women's sports.
Donald Trump now pressuring the International Olympic Committee to ban transgender athletes ahead of the 2028 Los Angeles Games.
I think that's the right thing to do. I think Trump did the right thing for women's rights, honestly, and I think people getting against this have learned nothing. If the Democrats are still fighting to put men in women's sport, they are gonna lose the next election, obviously.
I have Independent Women's Forum Ambassador Kim Russell. Russell was also the head women's lacrosse coach at Oberlin College, but speaking out against transgender athletes in women's sports cost her job. She has openly supported a ban of this kind. Kim, good morning to you. Thanks for being with me.
Good morning. So glad to be here.
You know, it's been a couple years since everything happened with your job as head coach. You say you were burned at the stake over this. So does the president's executive order this week feel validating?
I am so grateful that he signed that yesterday and he took action on his words. This is exactly what we were looking for. And now we just need the Senate to do the same.
You know, the NCAA estimates that there are just 40 transgender people in the ranks of the 500,000 that compete in its leagues nationwide. In fact, the president on a panel back in, I believe it was December, said there might even be fewer than 10. If the number of trans athletes is so small, why does the federal government need to act? I know you have a very, personal perspective on this.
I do, and the numbers are much greater than that. People only see on TV or in the news a very small percentage. You have to look at it this way. One male is taking away opportunities from multiple females. You're taking away the opportunity from that player on your same team who might have the opportunity to be on the court, in the pool. You've taken the opportunity away from someone who didn't get the position because you did. Then every single time you win an event or place an event, you're taking away an opportunity from multiple people on other teams. You're taking awards away and records away. Currently, there's a runner at Rochester Institute of Technology who holds every record in every race he's run at RIT. He holds the record in the women's category. So I'm celebrating the women who really hold those records. A current runner there, Caroline Hill, actually holds 2 of those records.
I know.
I applaud what she's saying right there. I think she's right about this. I think we should ultimately make the right thing. I think we should do the right thing, and there's no way to please everybody. There's no way to please everybody, so we have to make laws that work for the majority of people, and that's what I believe, and that include protecting women in women's sports.
A couple years back, you reshared a post that was questioning Leah Thomas's 2022, NCAA championship win. You commented on that. The times are obviously very different right now than where we have been the last 4 years. Do you think if you had made those comments this week, you'd still be head coach there? And do you want an apology from Oberlin?
I don't think I would, because Oberlin definitely doesn't agree with what President Trump just signed, and that's the way the college is. So I don't believe anything would have transpired any differently.
Before I let you go, what would your vision be for where these trans athletes should compete, with one another? What's your suggestion there? Where do they go?
So let me make something clear. This is not excluding anyone from sport. And we have never talked about excluding anyone from sport. This is simply based on biology. And if you were born female, you compete with women and girls. If you were born male, you compete with men and boys. There's always a place to compete.
Thank God, someone sensible right there, someone willing to tell the truth, just like it is. If you are a man, you compete with men. If you are a woman, you compete with women. And that's as simple as that. I don't think trans athletes should be ostracized or should feel left out or anything like this. I think they should compete in the category that is fit for them. I don't think it's right to make them compete with women when they are obviously faster and stronger than women. So I hope you enjoyed this video with me today, guys. Let me know what you think about this issue. Do you think Trump did the right thing by banning transgender athletes from women's sport? I think he did the right thing to protect girls and women's rights. And I think the large majority of people agrees with what Trump is doing right now. And that cost the Democrats the previous election in 2024. And if they don't change their mind, if they don't come back to reality and into the middle, into the majority of people, what the people think, then they will probably lose again and again. Hopefully they understand and try and do better next time around. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click right there to watch the next video, and I will see you there. Bye bye.